All right, so here's how it goes. Here's keyboard controls. Now, if I wanted to put a new thing in here called fire, would I want to put it on this one? No, because this is a very universal script that I could probably apply to a great many things, and I don't want to screw it up. So that would be that. Going back to the robot script, however, I got this nice open robot script that's barely touched except for the queue, and that would probably be the best way to code. Is have things separated out based upon unique situations. So this one's very unique. So I would keep all the unique things happening in the script. So now I'm going to have to do something. I need something to just vent. So I'm going to make a script here. And if you caught earlier lessons, you know this is just kind of review because I do have a series of Unity lessons that deal with this very same thing. But, you know, review is good, repetition is good. So there's veritable character bullet. Okay, transform. So what is that? Well, what that allows me to do, let's save this out. Now if I go here, I have this thing. And it wants something. It wants something with a transform. Well, that's everything. Okay, I could shoot ducks out of this thing. It really is big and broad. But what I want to make as a bullet, however, is something a little bit different. Let's make a game object. And let's see, we make a sphere. And we need to reference the sphere corresponding to the gun itself. Now, here's where we play, wow, how do we get the bullet over to the gun? Okay. Well, let's do something here. Let's go to gun swivel and highlight that and hit F on the keyboard. Okay, there's a quick way to do it. And then let's go to the sphere. Let's go to game object and move to view. Okay, so that's a very quick way to get it over near the gun. And then I can scale it up. And I'm going to scale it up to fit about what it would do if it came out the chamber, if it was a ball. And if I use the keys right here, I can align that a little bit better. And there's my sphere. All right, now what I want to do is duplicate this sphere. Okay, now the reason for that is because I want to take one sphere and I want to remove everything off of it. I want to just remove all the components, all the colliders, all the everything. I removed it all. And this is where the bullet's going to shoot out of. So this thing is a locator. Okay, if you're familiar with Maya and their locators, this is the locator. And the locator is going to be called gun spawn. Okay, there we go. So gun spawn. So here's my sphere. And what I want to do is make this kind of unique looking. So I'm going to assign it a new material. And the material right here. So let's create a new material. Call it bullet. And bullet could be really anything. I could have smoke, fire, water, whatever. You know, if I had a fire bullet out there, it would look like this. Now, what I would say is this scene is clean, so I'm going to keep it clean, and I'm going to just assign this kind of a red. Okay? Because I haven't really textured anything in the scene. I probably won't either. So this thing, here's my sphere, here's my bullet, there's my red bullet. Okay, also, let's assign it some rigid body. That way it bounces off of stuff. And let's up its mass to about 2. That way it can start knocking things over. Use gravity, receive shadows. Good, good, all good. So at this point, what happens is the bullet's in the scene, but I don't want it really in the scene, because what will happen here is if I hit play, the bullet's just going to slowly drop. Okay. What I want to use is the bullet as a prefab, and that's where prefabs come in. So here's my prefab, and once I get it all made, that's when it's time to make it into a prefab. And the prefab is going to be called character bullet. Now, it doesn't really matter what you call it, because really you're assigning that by hand. So here's bullet, and I'm going to throw it into character bullet. You can name it Swiss cheese omelet. It doesn't really matter, because here's where it goes. See where that transform node is? Character bullet goes into there. So if I needed to call it, I would had to know its name. But this is a very quick and easy way to avoid that like the plague. And in script, all I have to do is call it transform. As long as it has a transform node, it'll work. So if I wanted to get very specific on it, I wouldn't use transform, I would use rigid body. Okay, because it has a rigid body attached to it. But that leads to the point where, well, if it doesn't have a rigid body and you don't want it to bounce, what happens then? All right, so that is making the bullet. Now let's get it to the point where when I hit, let's say fire 1, what happens? And fire 1 is actually your left mouse button, okay? And that's in the next video.